Welcome to Scotty G's. What are we working on today? Boom. What we have today is we have a huge amount of parts that we're going to be putting on. This is going to be the first part of the build series. So far, I have a 2024 Ski-Doo Gen5 Turbo. It is the 165, so the thing is monster long. You can see I got a pack out on it. I got the full wrap. I do have some suspension parts underneath it, all the I-back shift clutching. I got it all. So one of the things that the Gen5 Turbo has issues with specifically is ratcheting. So I contacted Andy at Avid Products and he provided these. I did pay for them, so I didn't get them for free, but he said this is the go-to fix-all for track ratcheting. They're definitely going to be a lot better. As you can see, they have much thicker cogs. They wrap a little bit better and they don't wear out like the normal, axle drive pieces. So he also talked me into doing a big old kit. Now, I know a lot of people use specifically your billet aluminum in the rear and whatnot, but here's the thing. Plastic doesn't take any kind of ice. It keeps completely clean the entire time. There's a lot less rolling resistance with these plastic ones. I mean, these things are absolutely super lightweight. 2 fingers, nothing to it. They have the big bearings. And then once you do the big wheel kit, you also have to do a offset axle. So I went ahead and did red because I got a lot of red on the back of the sled. So I opted to go with these. They also do come in blue and black, but I think the red's gonna look awesome. So we'll just get right into it. First thing is we gotta start taking care of getting all the suspension out from underneath it, and then we can start pulling that actual drive axle out. I went ahead and got the back end kicked up. As you can see, there's absolutely no space. I got my little track holder there, but everything else is up off the ground. I did go ahead and take off the side panels and the hood because I do have some work to do underneath the hood. But this is not necessary when you are doing a driver switch. So first thing you're gonna do is you're gonna release a lot of the pressure off of your blocks right here so that you can take the springs, and I got the Bush Pusher aluminum retainers. So we'll have to take these out, loosen up the track, and then at that point we can start looking at removing all of the bolts to get it out, which is just right here. That's a 15. I will confirm that with that, and then you can pull the whole skid out. So we'll get working on that and I will show you the next step.
I can see the stars reflecting, the object has made us steal. Everything but you is fading.
Just a bit of a pro tip. When you're trying to get those bolts out, which connect to your actual skid, they are a collar that goes all the way through, and it definitely is a pain. So you have to work at each side, kind of continuing to work at it so that it'll come out. Now, once you get those bolts out, you're gonna have to release your collars here, which is just 10 millimeter, has a bolt, goes all the way through. I've already released it, I've already dropped it out. And then one other thing I always like to do is I like grabbing a ratchet strap, putting it around, and then being able to hold the track up and out of the way. Sometimes I do too, which is right here, but I think today I'll just be able to pull it right out. Skids out completely. And here's that front piece I'm talking about. So it's threaded on one side, threaded on the other. This actually slides in there, and then the bolt goes through and attaches to this guy. So this is kind of a pain in the butt. I am also going to be putting on some new scratchers, cleaning the whole skid up, adding the big wheel kit in. But first, I'm going to continue on with the drivers. Now, next thing that needs to happen is we do need access to the back side of this. So I've already loosened these. These are 10 mil. And if you see, there are Torx. These are 27 Torx. So you have 2 nuts, a bolt, a nut, and then you have another one right back here. And you can take this whole plate off.
When you tear up my...
You can see this right here is the axle that goes all the way through. So in order to access this and be able to pull this off, you actually have to get up underneath, back up in there, and then remove all the bolts from up in there. It's kind of a pain to get to, but really should be pretty easy. And then this, if you can see all the way back down here, this guy, this little tab needs to turn just a little bit, and then it can separate. So should be easy. We'll get her done. All right, I misspoke. In order to access this caliper and to be able to pull a plate off, there are actual Torx right there. There's 4 of them. 1, 2, there's another one over here, and then one down that you actually access on the underneath side. So through this hole, it is a 40 Torx. Definitely is going to take a little bit more to get into it and to be able to get it so it's actually coming out properly. We'll take this guy off, show you how to do it, go from there. Okay, I really want to show you something. See if I can actually get into it. So this guy right here actually has a little bit of an index. So with the actual plate underneath, right here, what I was able to do is just grab a hold of it and see how there's an index in this guy. Just grab a hold of it, jiggle it, and it pops counterclockwise. So now this whole axle is ready to come out. So you slide it this way, pop out that end, and then you pull it back out this way. So I'll get it taken care of, and then I'll show you what we're dealing with on our drivers and the differences before we take these off and then put the new ones on. All right, so I completely forgot about this. Right here, you have a snap ring. Sits like that. It is a pain to get off, but what I did is I just took a pry bar, stuck it underneath in that hole, was able to get enough bite onto it, and then pull the whole thing off. So at this point, everything should be able to come off now. I know Ski-Doo does sell a puller, but I have a couple different pullers that I should be able to. You're not going to want to be able to press on the middle of this because this is plastic. So if you need to hook a puller on the outside here, put a cone or a cap on this, and then be able to pull the whole rotor completely off the axle, and then you should be good to go. Well, I got it out. It was way more difficult than I anticipated it was going to be. One of the issues is the bearing is, as you can see, it's really rusted all the way on the outside, but that's not really a bad thing. I'm going to clean it up with some Scotch-Brite. But the problem is that this guy, the actual caliper, it was more or less rusted to the bearing. So I'm going to clean up this as well. This is all aluminum, so this should be pretty easy to do. But I had a terrible time trying to get that off. So I had to make a little mount to be able to pull. Where's my mount? Basically, it was a plate that, oh, here it is, that I went ahead and mounted to the outside like that, ran some bolts through it, and then continued to apply pressure as a puller. I thought I had a regular puller that would be able to pull that off, but that was not fun whatsoever. But I got my caliper off, I got my brake rotor off, and I have the axle itself out. So right now I'm starting to actually draw lines on it. I'm gonna do all my measurements, make sure everything looks good, and then I'm gonna go ahead and press these drivers off.
I've been used to breathing darkness. The hunger never disappeared. But some memories have turned to ashes. Oh, still floating, but I won't surrender.
I got one of the sides pressed off, but I really wanted to show you something very interesting. So if you can see, that actual cog is completely rounded off. And if you look at this size, they are significantly different. So more meat, better quality, significantly better in size. So this one should be way better. I'm gonna say a huge thanks to Avid to producing such an excellent product. I will provide links in the video so that you can get these yourself. So I'll get the other side off, I'll show you how to press them back on, and we'll install. So I got everything off, and I now am getting ready to push or press the actual driver onto it. Now, you gotta have this piece on first because that goes up against the bearing and allows it. So I'm just getting everything kind of set up for what it is. If you look down in here, you see that it has splines, and you gotta make sure that those are in line with your actual shaft so that it holds properly. So I have the install tool in there. I'm gonna check to make sure everything looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and start pressing it. And my lines are perfect, so it should fit right on board. So initially when I pressed it in, what it did was it started mushrooming along the outside right here. So I went ahead and took the shaft out, went ahead and pressed the actual install tool completely into it so that now I can take the actual axle, put it into it, and get a good press. You can see at this point how it's conformed to the actual splines on the inside of this driver, and I will be able to put that back on, press it all out, and go from there. So everything's going super well, for sure. Something that's very crucial about this process, pressing the actual drivers on, is you want to make sure that your cogs are lined up appropriately. These are spot on. Everything is set up. So this one definitely took a lot of time because you have the entire shaft that you have to press onto. But this next one should be quite a bit quicker. And it really is not too terribly bad to be able to press that cone down through the center and then get it set up with the actual shaft. So let's get rocking. I wanted to point this out that has become quite a large issue when I was trying to remove the axle and whatnot, is that The outside of the bearing right here, as you can see, is completely corroded, has a little bit of rust on it and whatnot. If you look on the inside where the bearing sits, it's all rusted as well. Now, we do have two different types of metals. This is all aluminum over here, and this is really hard steel. So when you tried to remove it, it took a lot of pressure to try to separate them. I had to actually heat up this edge here and try to get it to expand. So I'm gonna clean it all up and then continue to check it and make sure that everything looks good. But I would highly check this. Make sure that you guys do check this and smooth this all up so that when this is pressed back into your actual caliper and the mount, is it's going to go in a little bit easier. You definitely do want it to be tight, but that was ridiculous. So I'll get it all cleaned up, I'll show you the final results, and we'll get it all put back together. All right, friends, I got everything hooked, polished, and whatnot. You can see that bearing looks real nice. The inner looks real nice. And let's see if I can get this appropriate. It goes right in. So it takes a little bit of kind of rocking back and forth, but it literally does actually slide into it. So that is going to be key to getting these things back in nice and easy. I'm going to go ahead and put the axle back in, get it situated, get everything kind of put back on, and we'll go from there. Okay, everything is back together. One of the things I noticed, this guy right here, there's actually two of them. There's one on the front and one on the back. Or sorry, one on the top, one on the bottom. This top one is actually just a little bit smaller. So there for a few minutes, I was trying to put the indexing tab in the wrong hole. So the bottom one is just a little bit larger. This one is a little bit shorter. Once I got that in, got everything realigned, the whole thing went in super nice and easy. So I'll go ahead and put the snap ring on, put the 4 bolts on the caliper, get my pads back in, and we can start working on the skid. Everything is now put back together. One consideration is that when you are putting the snap ring back on, it is an extremely tight fit. So you're gonna take your snap ring, get it in there. I took a screwdriver on the other side and just worked it all the way around. And once it was on, it still wasn't seated. So I went ahead and took a big punch and a hammer and just tapped just the outside all the way around until it completely seated. Now it's 100% locked in, it's nice and tight, and we can start moving on to other things. Went ahead and put the brake pads back in, seated the screw, got the little cotter pin into it. We can put the dust cover back on, and then start moving on to the skid. Next part of the video that we are focusing on is we have completed the drivers on my Gen5 Ski-Doo Turbo. It is a 2024, so it has the better upgraded drive shaft inside of it that doesn't need the TKI fix or whatnot. So I got all my parts from Avid Products. I got the big wheel kit. So the original ones that are on our stock Gen5s are going to be 7.8 inches, and they're decent, but the big thing that I'm noticing is that there's a lot more wobble in them, and they're quite a bit smaller. I've also taken a few good hits right in the top. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on the offset axle, the big wheel kit, which these are actually 9-inch wheels. And the other thing to this is that they have bigger bearings. So you're going to be able to get better, quicker spool up with less resistance with this setup. So the skid is out. We're going to go ahead and toss in the axle and get it going. when you're putting this all together, you're going to slide your axle all apart and then slide your actual big wheel kit onto the axle itself. Then each one of the ends slides over the top of it. So you'll put one on each side, and then per the instructions, you're going to take your hardware and some good blue is what they recommend, Loctite on all the hardware, just so that it holds everything together. So the small bolts are going to be, what, a 15, 14, 15. 15, yep. 15, 15? No, it's 14, pardon me. So they slide in, and then you'll get it all nice and tight and go from there. When I started installing this, something that I kind of noticed, and I'm gonna have to go back and take a look, but I'm not 100% sure if this is supposed to be up or it's supposed to be down. But I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna have to err on the side that it's supposed to be up. And the reason is because you don't want your track to come too far down, because then it's getting a little bump in here. So I do think this is how it's supposed to be. But another thing is I left this hardware on each side of the axle itself loose. I applied the blue Loctite to both the outside and the inside on both sides, got it in there, and then adjusted it to where it kind of needed to be for the axle. And then now I'm going down and starting to do the process of tightening everything up. So everything looks square, looks nice. Next thing after we get it tightened down is going back in sled. Skid is back in, so everything is lining up real nice. I got the tunnel bolts completed. I got the back attachment bolts. I am using bush pusher. They are significantly better. So, and then there's the big wheel kit. So I'm gonna get this up in the air, and talking with Andy at Avid, he said the number one thing to do is get the rear end up, let it sag, and adjust it so that there is about, what is it, a quarter to a half inch of droop, about 10, I think it's like 10 or 12 inches in front of the big wheel kit. So these tracks are run quite a bit looser than your standard drivers. So we'll get that up, we'll get it addressed and adjusted appropriately. I'm gonna move my track through and we'll go from there. All right, so that goes and concludes the whole install on the driver and big wheel kit from Avid Products, pardon me. Next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna conclude this video. Things to make sure that you do is make sure that you are adjusting your track tension and also addressing and adjusting your actual suspension. So I know specifically on my sled that it is a Expert. I still have the torsion spring in it, so I had to readjust mine, make sure all the hardware is nice and tight. If you do the drivers, you got to have some kind of a press. So that right there is one of the big deterrents from doing your own drivers and being able to do this install properly. And if you have the tool, then I would certainly recommend getting the puller for the shaft and the caliper to get that caliper off of the actual driver shaft. Outside of that, pretty self-explanatory, pretty easy. I love this Gen 5. It's super easy to work on. I have also an M7 and an XM, and both those fairly straightforward. So I know with all electronics, it could definitely be something that is different, but I would definitely go about it this way and see if you can't get something figured out. So if you have any questions, please go ahead and shoot me a message, leave it in the comments. I will get back to you and see if I can't help you. So until then, stay frosty. Don't you just hate it when you're filming sideways and nothing matches up?
I love you way.